We call them leaders because they go first. We call them leaders because they take the risk before anybody else does. We call them leaders because they will choose to sacrifice so that their people may be safe and protected and so their people may gain. And when we do, the natural response is that our people will sacrifice for us. They will give us their blood and sweat and tears to see that their leader's vision comes to life. And when we ask them, why would you do that? Why would you give your blood and sweat and tears for that person? They all say the same thing. Because they would have done it for me. And isn't that the organization we would all like to work in?
What's up, guys? This is Tyson and John again, and welcome to our second series podcast. We like to call this the Hot Seat. Here we get to talk to current Hawaii Fire Department firefighters currently in the field that are making waves and moving our department forward. The motivated, the people that are going above and beyond and surpassing just their normal duties in line of work. We want to meet these guys, these men and women, and find out what keeps them motivated and moving forward. Today, we would like to welcome Hawaii Fire Department's Battalion Chief, Patrick Springer. Both John and I had the opportunity to work with Chief at different times of his career, and we're stoked to finally get him to sit down with us and share his story today. So we'd like to welcome Battalion Chief Patrick Springer.
Yeah.
What's
up, everybody? Good morning. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so Chief, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself. Who were you before fire?
Okay. Before we get started, I'm gonna do a little disclaimer because a lot of times when we record stuff, people will go back and say, "Oh, you said this, you said that, da 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 da." Just set the record straight first and foremost. Like, these are my two friends asking me here for a specific purpose, and this is my not always an opinions like at this point in time. But if you actually somebody that work with me and you know me, I'm somebody that is willing to change my mind, to pivot, to turn another direction. So if somebody wants to put this in 5, 10 years from now and see if it's aged well, I mean, I hope it does. But yeah, there's always something when you look back, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe my thought process changed. Maybe things turn out a different way. It is what it is, right? But I think that's a big theme that I'm going to carry and touch on through this interview is just being willing to change. It starts with yourself, right? So with that, a little bit about myself. I'll start with my family first. I don't feel like I give my family enough credit for, and this is kind of like a big thing for me, is giving my family enough credit. Starting with my upbringing with my parents, like my voice is trembling right now because at the age that I'm at, 42 years old this year with 2 kids and a wife and a good job. I wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for my upbringing. My 2 parents really did model everything, and I have a few values written down here. First of all, is service. Relentless public servants. My parents are both educators, retired from the DOE and commitment school. So everybody knows what teachers got to do, right? Underpaid, underappreciated, teaching children, dealing with families, dealing with administrators. So my parents did that full time. Along with everything else, right? All the prep work you got to do before your lesson plan, spending money out of your own pocket so that the kids can do a cooler art project than they could have done, all of that kind of stuff. Spending time with the families, getting to know them, all of those things. And my parents also worked multiple other jobs. My mom would play for the county band. My dad would do all kinds of music gigs on the side, doing concerts, musicals. Church every Sunday, 2 churches, sometimes 3 different churches, regular services, funeral masses, all kinds of stuff. And those kinds of things, they did it not only because of service, but because of passion. They believed in what they were doing. And don't get me wrong, like I witnessed almost everything, not just the passion, but the pain and frustration that comes with passion. A lot of times there's a lot of it. Feels like you're just banging your head against the wall, trying to build something to leave behind for the next generation. So service and passion leads me to hard work. Their work ethic was amazing. They gave us a beautiful life. As far as the way I was raised by them, I have really no complaints. Was it easy? No. Did I get scoldings all the time? Yeah, I got choke scoldings, but I needed them. I'm the kind of guy that has to make a mistake and have the consequence and dwell on it. And I'm also stupid enough that sometimes I got to do them again just to see what's going to happen. But I'm kind of to
Just to
the point
watch.
where, like, 40 years later, I've kind of grown past that. But it all really boils down with my upbringing, my family to sacrifice, which is where my parents did it. They're still doing it. They're helping. My sister's a teacher now. My brother's a police officer. Still other public servants in my family. It's really inspiring to be a part of this ohana. But my parents are still serving all of us, helping with our children. Raising up the right way, and it's beautiful watching. Um, my parents get to be grandparents. So um, the last thing with the family is sacrifice. I got a shout out to my wife for holding it down at home. I don't think people really know like how much she does to support me and this department. So without her, I'm still a captain online. That's the most I could. That's the most I could give. Um, a little bit about her. Um, she she just sacrifices and gives, man. She gives so much. But what I wanted to say is, she actually left her job when I took this position. There was other reasons she left the job. So she left the job to support me, but her primary reason was not to miss our children growing up, to be there for them. And I'm missing a lot, but I try to make it a point to hold them, like literally hold my kids. Like, they talk about babies and skin to skin, right? But like, bro, I still hold my kids. I love them hard, bro. Too many times I've been on calls and you watch people take their last breath, right? You hold their hand.
Yeah.
But like, bro, I hold my kids. I feel them breathe. I feel their skin. I feel everything, bro. And like, that is a drive for me to do what I want to do. For the men and women of this department that have loved ones, like, that's how hard I love my kids. And that's how much I actually care about you and your kids, is that you get to come home and share that with them. So that's my whole thing on Ohana. I don't usually go that deep on it, but I think it sets a tone for like why I do what I do. The regular stuff, school. I went to Henry Opokaia School in Kea'au before it was Nawahi for preschool. The best of times, bro. Best time of your life. Waikikawaina Elementary. Um, some of my favorite teachers over there. Miss Janice Nakagawa, still my favorite teacher. Kindergarten. Hope you're doing good.
All right.
Um,
Shout out.
I also had a teacher there that told me that I wouldn't get into Kamehameha schools, I wouldn't graduate, and I wouldn't amount to anything. Um, Love you, bro. Look at me now. You know who you are. But nah, actually, I kind of being cocky with that, but me, I operate off that kind of challenge too.
Yeah.
And I know, like, all joking aside, like, that's why he said what he said, because it needed to be said. Like, that's another theme of this interview for me is like, we so sensitive nowadays. Like, you can't even tell somebody the truth without hurting their feelings. Like, cause if I suck at something, if I'm not good at it, bro, I like no.
Let me
If
know.
you think I'm not gonna
Yeah.
amount to nothing, bro, let me know. Bro, hit me at something so hard, I'm gonna carry them with me for 30 years and
Yeah.
still think about you. Cause you made a difference in my life, even though it's negative, cause I can run on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So after that, I went to 1 year at Kapiolani school because I was Kolohe and my mom was a teacher over there. Wasn't a good year. There's a lot of good friends at Kapiolani school, but the demographic of that school is different than Waikikawaina, yeah. All my friends from there, a lot of them was from Lanakila, from the housing projects.
Yeah.
And it was close enough to the school where, like, at a different time, right? Like, my mom's still doing stuff. I could go up there, go into Lanakila and see how these children have to live and how their parents are trying to make ends meet. So that was my first real look into, like, oh, you know what I mean? Not everybody get them as good as me.
Yeah.
Very, very humbling to be for that year I spent in sixth grade. After that, I went to Kamehameha schools. One thing about Kamehameha schools was I grew up away from my parents. I talked about the upbringing I had, and I often wonder what I would have amounted to if I had 7 through 12, like,
At home.
with my parents. But it is what it is. The flip side is, like, I got turned on to so many different experiences, got to travel all over the world, meet all kinds of people, interact with other students and teachers that, like, just honestly want the best for you. And other than that too, like, the dorming life, like taking care of your responsibilities. Like, why do you think it's so many guys from Kamehameha in the department? You have a structure, you have a job every morning. If you don't do it, there's discipline. You go to school, there's tasks for that. After school, there's more activities, more responsibilities. And the other thing is, excuse me, you're getting brought up with other males your age. So a lot of us in the dorm becomes like a brotherhood, right? Like how the department is supposed to be.
Yeah.
But when I say brotherhood, I'm not talking about like, oh, this perfect fluffy thing that like, is just all whatever blank and giggles, right?
Yeah.
It's we're men, right? There's disagreements, there's fights, there's hurt feelings and all of that. But um I think it prepared me pretty well for this job. After that, I went to Loyola Marymount University in LA for about a year and a half. Um, School was great. I had met friends from all over the country. But there just was something about California where it wasn't Hawaii, bro. It wasn't home. But I need to go up there and taste how
It is.
things is not how it is back here. It made me really look back and appreciate like the life we have here. And I don't know if everybody's had that. A lot of people have gone away and came back. But for me, when I came back and going into my work background now, looking for a job, did all kinds of stuff, worked Pizza Hut, unloading freight containers, Big Island candies. But a job that taught me the most was working on sweet potato farm in Hakalau. And something about that job was me and my cousin, he's like my brother. We grew up together, spent a lot of time, he's still very, very close to me. Um, but bro, we worked on a sweet potato farm, hands in the soil, digging, backbreaking work. Pack your own lunch break, go down Hakalau, paddle out, surf, and then go back to work, paid cash. But yeah, just the value of hard work and like this. So we was working for these two Chinese guys, and I don't even know if they were legally here or not. But like, okay, you like talk about work ethic. These two guys, bro, these two Chinese guys run circles around me and my cousin, bro. Like, people think they know what hard work is. Like, wow, no, it's these guys work with such speed and efficiency, and bro, they laugh at us too, bro, watching us sweat and struggle with stuff. Like, it's just built different, bro. These guys never come here. I could tell they never come here with money, that's for sure. But they came here to work, and that inspires me to today. And then closing this out, yeah, I was working odd jobs. It's like I said, I was working in food service there. At the time, I was working at Tsunami Grill, dishwashing, bussing tables, sometimes working at the window, and Don's Grill too. But that's where I met Dan Koshiyama back in the day. Shout out to brother Dan. Um, I actually was asked by a friend to take the fire test with him. He never let go by himself. It was open. And I was fortunate enough to do well because I still was going UH Hilo. Like all the academic stuff was still pretty good. I don't even know if I could. I don't even know if I could do good on the test right now. um, but I ended up, as fate ended up, I ended up doing well enough to get in. And there came a point where I got the job offer, and I had to have a conversation with my family and like, oh, what should I do? And of course, the family is of the mindset they're like, Father, you had 1 year left of school. You should just finish that. But I talked to my wife's husband, who was he's a retired career firefighter of Honolulu. Um, Respect that man very, very much. So he told me, he's like, boy, you know how many times I tried to get in? Like, you might never score that high or do that well again. You almost pop. You can probably finish that over a couple of years if you wanted to while you're still working. So if it was me, I would go for him. So anyway, answer to a long question. Here I am today.
Yeah. What recruit class was that?
30th recruit class.
30th.
Yep.
Nice.
The guys that sat on my table was Mark Spain, Ivan Higashi, Locke Burgess, and Mike Jackson. So
All right.
that was my squad. So
Mean.
boys, it's good. Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll get into more deeper questions, I guess, yeah? So being in the position you're at, you're the training battalion chief. You took that step to make a change. It's been a revolving door, right, before that position. So how do you build this culture, this movement, and a progression towards moving the department forward continuously in your position?
Well, Tyson, how do you solve a Rubik's Cube?
You research, you look it up, you figure it out,
Research what?
hands-on. I would go on YouTube.
You go on YouTube. Okay, so a shout out to my son real quick. He got into Rubik's Cubing, right? So, yeah, he went on YouTube. He looks up all the different algorithms and permutations. He starts following all the guys that are really, really good, how they got good. He starts timing himself, right? So, he was able to go from getting a Rubik's Cube in the summer to competing in the fall, the mid-fall, and taking a not being able to solve it to being able to do it in about, I think in competition it was like 34 seconds.
Oh, wow.
The world record is like, I think it just got
Three.
broken,
Yeah.
three something, right?
3.2, I think.
So, Rod, how inspiring is that? And then, like I was talking to you guys before, the workup for this thing was this event he went to, the competition was a meetup. So you go over there. I don't know if you guys know, but at this thing alone, there's 50 different types and shapes of Rubik's cubes. So how do we build a culture and a movement, right? Like every single program or thing that we gotta do is like, but it's this whole other Rubik's cube. It's this whole other nut to crack. And like before we even figure out the problem, like we gotta talk to figure out the problem, but like what is the root cause? How do we cancel out the noise? And we talk about algorithms and permutations, like, okay, well, what is the commonalities and patterns that we can apply across the board to all of these that will make it work? And the more people that know the permutations and algorithms with a passion to take a program and run with it, like me as a training chief, I want to empower people, like, cause here, bro, here's the tools, take the ball and run with this thing, bro. You need help, I'll be here for you, but this is yours. Like, for example, like specialty stuff, confined space rescue, swiftwater rescue, like what do I know about that? That should come from them.
I know a
But
guy.
does the rest of you guys have the tools to write a program, manage and administer a program? Do I expect them to do that? No. But as far as like everything from their instruction to their certification down for their guys, like I want that to be theirs. I want it to be just like me. I handle the higher level administrative things and I make sure that they have the funding and justification, not only to get it off the ground, but so that an argument cannot be made like, oh, times is bad. We got to cut funding for this program. So really, building a culture is finding the commonalities in the problem. Like even if you talk about a structure fire, like, oh, this fire is different from that fire. Like, or people also say like all fires are all the same. Well, though there's commonalities in both of them, right? That's why there's a whole command structure of priorities. That's why there's ICS. That's why there's RECOVS. That's why there's LIPS, because there's certain things that we got to get done. So, as far as building a culture and progression, like progression is a big word because we pride ourselves in tradition. Firefighters hate two things, right? Change and the way things are. But bro, look around you, man. Our community is changing. You guys see it in prevention every single day. Stuff is changing. So the threats to the safety of our public is getting worse and worse and worse every day. And like the scope of our job is growing. Like it's another discipline, another specialty, another certification. But that's our mission, right? Protect lives and property. So to really answer the call for that is getting everybody to realize, like, if we just focus on those things, the mission to protect life and property, everything else will fall in line. We got to leave everything else on the side. Another thing with changing the culture is slowly, like, getting rid of the normalization of deviance, which is when you just not doing things correctly becomes a norm. Basically, if I could put it in simple words, not putting your PPE on correctly. It's something like not even zipping up your jacket on an MVA all the time because it's hot. Maybe you got to work. Is there a chance you might not zip it up on a structure fire? Yeah, there's a chance you can go in with your jacket open, right? So, I talked a little bit about. Let me rephrase that. People will get offended if you call them out with a hard truth, right? It's a hard thing to even work up the courage to tell somebody because of how people receive things nowadays. But we can address normalization of deviance through little reminders as a warm up to like bigger things that need to be addressed directly later, if that makes sense. So, I really believe that if we're staying the same, we're falling behind because of the change in our world. It's about relationships, bro. It's about relationship building and collective effort. There's been a lot of times where I've been frustrated with, things that are said and done. But even with that, trying to be a person that like tries to figure out, okay, where is this person coming from? How can I create a relationship where with this person where we can get them, not doesn't even have to be on the same page, but just get them to work with us towards the mission, right? That's a big thing because at the end of the day, this is about raising the bar. We talked about family. I know you guys both love your kids as much as I do, right? You guys, we all like go home, we like be there. But the community, they all love their family just the same way, right? So we got to raise the bar. We got to do it justice. And the last thing in building a culture is developing our personnel. The department has tried to develop our personnel. We're going to try to do more. I think with leadership, we have more funding now with the direction we're trying to head to invest in our personnel. But if we do open a class, sign up, come, come for the class. But the other thing with that is investing in yourself. Um, it can be a big barrier for a lot of people to be like, bro, why are you gonna do that? The department should do them. But sometimes you get more skin in the game if you do something yourself, right? And you can apply it
Exactly.
to the
Yeah.
job. But then you'll start finding out with whether you're doing stuff outside of work to develop yourself or inside of work, make that connection. Like, don't make a barrier. Like, whether you coach soccer or whatever it is outside of work, like, can you carry that into the workplace? Or if I know the most efficient way to do evolution XYZ as a training chief, or like, well, why can't I organize my kids to get in the car with all of their belongings to leave the house for school in the morning? And that's to me
That's
like,
good.
cause you can run this and do all of this stuff, but like you cannot control these these two kids.
Yeah.
It's wild, but
Yeah.
yeah, just carry the lessons across, So yeah, that's
That's
all I
good.
got.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been with you since you were a captain. Oh, actually, when you were a driver, I met you. Yeah. So I noticed like you have a drive that keeps on going. So what is your motivation? What keeps you going? What keeps the train running?
Well, the family piece from the beginning, is pretty much priority one. And it's being raised with the values in my heart. It's aloha, even for people that don't have the nicest things to say or disagree with me. Like, I was raised to like, this person is still a human being, and what they hold near and dear to their heart is very important. And I think as a human race, not just as a department, like, we got to remember that we got to get rid of the division. So at this season in my life, I'm trying to do that. Even outside of work with situations, and but I'm not perfect. Like, there's a situation a couple weeks ago I wish I would have handled different at the store, but you know, um, it's being willing to grow. So my motivation is the desire to grow. I'm a father at this point in my life, but I'm looking at my parents getting older. My grandparents are in the sunset years of their life, and at each phase in your life, you gotta rise to the occasion. Just like in your career, um, if you notice, like, if you're not doing nothing, time goes by really slowly, and your mind will start to occupy itself with negative things or pursuits. So if you're not keeping busy and doing stuff that takes you forward in life, you might think you're staying the same and maintaining, but are you really doing yourself justice? Like, I'm not here to live a long time. I'm not saying like I'm here for a good time, not a long time. I'm not saying that. I want to be able to, like, when I'm lying down in the casket, to like people to actually miss me, not because of like any one thing, but because of like who I
Impact.
was and what I stood for and how I changed their life. And it's almost a selfish thing, I guess. But I'm not looking for like to be like highly honored. I just want to be like one humble local boy from Hilo that cared about where he comes from and wanted to change it.
Made a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So um the reality side of it is, we're not going to change things in the department overnight or fix all of our problems, but um I want to make firefighters that I want showing up to my home for my kids. I taught it to
Exactly. Of
recruits, like,
course.
bro, if I'm not home, and like I show them pictures of my little girl, and she comes in the class sometimes, right? Certain times, right? She'll come in, like, they already know, like, if you're working and I'm not home, and her room, right? Her room on this side, kitchen, living room, and the master's on this side. So if there's a kitchen fire and my daughter's trapped in her room, single story, can you guys recognize that the fire's coming from the kitchen? You're gonna VES the two bedroom on the side and get my family out. Like, that's what I want. I want to be able to be like, oh, bro, you guys did it, bro. You guys saved my children and my wife. Thank you so much. Instead of, oh, I don't know, we had a hard time with this, we had a hard time with that, and I thought this, and this. Like, of course, fate is fate, right? Fate is fate. But can we control everything that we can control, so that we can know that even if the outcome wasn't how we wanted to be, we really
did
did
everything.
everything we
Yeah.
were capable of, then I'll be happy with that. So that's my motivation, bro.
That's good. Yeah. What's your favorite quote, and how do you relate to it?
So for training, I've been using this one lately. So it's by Sun Tzu, The Art of War.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I keep going back to that book because I follow a page on Instagram too, and usually the page is it's what I need to hear for the day. So it's even the finest sword plunged into salt water will eventually rust. And that one's on my mind because of the recruits. We spend a whole year in here trying to teach them everything we can. So you can graduate and be this big, beautiful samurai sword, But like, if you don't care for it, right? Whether we're talking about training, whether we're talking about sharpening the sword, caring for the thing, oiling it down, storing it properly, carrying it properly, watching it and guarding it so nobody steals it. Um, there's so many things to that, but it's personal as well, tying back to what motivates me is probably just trying to be that 1% better every day. So it's not just about practice, it's about practicing intentionally with the intent to improve, like figuring out like being vulnerable enough to realize like what am I not good at and how am I going to fix it, and not just ruminating on it, but like actually doing the work to get better, not just like 2 times like, oh nah, I get them. You know what I mean? That's not good enough. So my question with to everybody with that quote is like, do we care enough to fight to improve? We're called to solve complex problems under hostile time compressed conditions with deadly consequences. So I mean, I'll ask, like, whose job is it to sharpen your sword, like at work or in your life in general? That's yours.
Yeah.
And then like now with that we get into ownership, right? And like I was talking about translation between the work and your personal life, like it's one and the same when you choose a profession like this. Yeah, there's boundaries. Like when I get home, I take my phone and I put it on the side. So if you try to call me after 4:30 till like dinner time, normally there's a small group of people I'll actually pick up the phone for. But where I was going with that is the Musashi quote of know the way broadly and you'll begin to see it in all things, because there's so much you can learn from everything else, right? So much you can learn. So yeah, with that, just don't compartmentalize things, relate it across everything you do. That's a perspective of a warrior, I think.
Nice. So with quotes, our next question was books, but I think nowadays it's podcasts, right? Everyone listens to podcasts.
Yeah.
I've been on Jim Fortin's podcast. I don't know if you heard of that. You do have theory or whatever, but been all over listening to that every time we drive.
Yeah.
For me, it's be do have instead of have do be. So you be that person you want to be, then they say like eventually you get to be where you want to be. So I've been listening to him lately. But for you, what is your favorite podcast? What do you listen to? What's in your phone?
That's a good question, but there's a lot of them. Work related is probably the weekly scrap with Corley
Yeah.
Moore,
Right.
Firehouse Vigilance. That one too. It just seems like when there's a message I gotta hear, like I'll flip it open and there'll be a certain one, a certain name, or a certain summary, and I was like, oh, brah, this is it. And I'll listen to it. I was like, yep.
Yeah.
Bro, it's just it's eerie, like how that kind of stuff just pops up. But bro, I listen to all kinds of other stuff too. I mean, I used to listen to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts, just
Yeah.
doing stuff around the house, just to actually I like stuff like that, like more entertainment stuff, just to get my mind off of work. Sometimes it's the funny ones, like the stand-up comedians. It's like I don't get to hang out in the station anymore right outside of
Yeah,
Central and
exactly.
just talk trash with the boys.
Yeah.
So like that's my little outlet, my little giggles, right? There's that, and then I do listen to political stuff. Not any specific podcast, but if there's a national or local level issue with somebody, like it doesn't matter if I agree with them or not. Like I want to listen to their perspective, so that I can figure out where I stand. I don't listen to it to like, oh yeah, like yep, see, like that's right, like that's why I'm voting for him. I'm part of this group. I'm not about that. I don't think any politician agrees with me 100%, and I'm not meaning to get into politics, but like I'm bringing up this point because like with the podcast, you can study so much stuff, but bro, form your own opinion and do your own homework. Like, don't be listening to anybody's platform and just being like, bro, this is my guy. This is what I'm gonna do. Like, 'cause are you being your own man or your own person at that point? Like, break it down and challenge yourself to listen to stuff like you wouldn't want to listen to sometimes. just as an exercise in opening your mind.
Change
So
your perspective. Even.
yeah. Oh, and history, bro. I like history stuff. Dan Carlin's hardcore history. It's like watching a movie in your mind. I like that. His story about Genghis Khan is crazy.
Yeah.
Do you sleep with it
Check that
in
out.
the dorms on your face?
Inside joke. Inside joke.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was, I think 2 years in, when I first got in, you was my captain. You told me to read this book, and I remember I gave you a hard time. And then I end up, So, what's your favorite book and why?
Yeah, it's Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willing. It's been out for a while. Plenty of people say it's their favorite book, but it's not just the book, it's the way he carries himself, his personality, his podcast, his success outside of the military. I mean, in and outside of the military, not only his wins, but his failures. He talks about them. I think there's a big problem with ownership, and I'm not talking about just the department. I'm talking about in this world today, everything is about entitlement. What are you going to do for me? This is your fault because you never do this, you never do that. But like, one of the most powerful and painful things you can do is, and like, I'm still working on myself, bro. It's like, look within yourself and be like, bro, like, I got to change this. And like, cause, like I said, change 1% every day, but like, okay, give yourself some grace, right? Like, how can you change everything at once? And I'm not saying some people can't do it, but like, don't get yourself down. Just decide that you're going to take ownership of your life and what your kuleana is. Even like in a leadership position, out of situation with Cap yesterday where he was working on the schedule and he was having a little bit of difficulty. And I was like, I told him, I was like, hey, let's put this on the board and work it out. And he stayed over there and he kept trying to work it out on the computer screen, but I wanted to whiteboard it out. I was like, no, whiteboard this out. We'll start over here and we'll end up over here. We'll work this out together. And I didn't even get to talk to him about this, but I could sense that he was trying to do it his way, which is what he's thinking. He's trying to maintain his whole train of thought. Like, this is not like one easy calendar, like, oh, you gonna work for me tomorrow. This is like the whole recruit class, right? So it's very complicated. But I realized, like, okay, if I'm gonna take ownership of this, like, I need to get off my butt. I need to grab this pen, have Cap turn off the screen, and just start writing. And yeah, we did it together. I wrote up the skeleton on there. He came in, took a little while to get him, like, everybody to understand, not just him, everybody to understand what I was doing. And is that their fault? No. Did anybody teach them facilitation? Nobody taught me facilitation. I learned that from watching the chiefs that came before me do it, that I was lucky to learn from. And I also got to learn that from Chief Amos, how to facilitate and listen to so many voices and concerns, write it all out on the board so that we can get everybody's point of view captured and then not lose anything when we're actually putting it down on paper. So the ownership piece is super hard, bro. It's super hard. But if you can latch onto that and like jump into that 100% while giving yourself some grace, like, that's been one of the most powerful books to change my life, including my relationship with my other half and my kids, right? When a kid acts up, like, do they know any better? No. Like, is your other half perfect? No. But like, even when your other half upsets you, right? Like, have you, asking yourself as a man, like, have you done everything to make her feel loved, to understand her point of view, understand her responsibilities? Why maybe she never get this done, or maybe why she doesn't think this way, and like, what can you do? What have you done everything, bro? Have you taken care of everything? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we can do this all day long, right? Between husband and wife. Well, you never do.
Yeah.
But bro, let's both own our stuff. Let's own it.
What do you think was the best advice you ever heard or have received?
It's another quote, bro. And it's about this whole thing. It's about change. It's about ownership. I'll read it out to everybody. The first part is probably the most important. It's watch your thoughts before they become your words. Watch your words before they become your actions. Watch your actions before they become your habits. Watch your habits before they become your character. And watch your character before it becomes your destiny. Now, if we go back to ownership, this is like, you have how many different 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You have 9 points that you could possibly pivot on, all within that sovereign space between your two ears inside your own brain, to change your destiny. Like, how powerful is that? And this is coming from somebody that, has character defects, has bad habits, has actions that I regret, has said words that I shouldn't have said, has thought really bad things that nobody should think. But do we judge ourselves for that? No, but we can move forward though. We can change moving forward, right? So that's a big one for me. That quote.
I've seen that one before. Yeah. If there's something you could change about yourself, what would it be?
Right in line with the last one. First and foremost is patience. You gotta be patient. I think we live in a society that is instant gratification, but a lot of knee-jerk reaction too. Wanting things right now, it's got to get done right now. If we change in the department, like, wow, we got to fix all of this stuff right now. You got to be patient. You got to work on it slowly. You got to be methodical. You got to do your size up. You got to come with your IAP. You got to prioritize your objectives. You got to allocate resources. You got to monitor the execution of your tactics. And you got to monitor the progress of everybody. You got to account for everybody. There's just so many things that you got to be patient with, bro. You just got to be patient and see what the world gives you while you're taking action, though. I'm not saying wait and see if something falls in your lap. Just be patient with the process. Keep moving. The next one is gratitude. All of these things are work in progress, but gratitude, appreciating the small blessings in life. I'm working on it with my son. I feel like I didn't appreciate the upbringing I had, like I said, until I went away to college. And then I took this job and realized like how fragile and temporary life really is. So probably grateful,
Exactly.
yeah, for life itself. But literally every breath, every sip of water you take, everything. Be grateful for it. And I'm not preaching to anybody. I'm talking to myself right now.
Yeah.
And the last one, if you practice gratitude, we can get to grace. So to me, grace is something you see one old Hawaiian auntie or kupuna, the way she carries herself, the way she lights up a room, the way that she alohas everybody, the way that she picks up a young child and looks into their eyes with just purest intention. They genuinely care about everybody. They have a way of decompressing or de-escalating a situation just with their presence or a few words. But we're talking about kupuna, the grace they give everybody, everything that they've seen in life. Bro, I'm gonna be on kupuna before I know it. You know what I mean? I better work on that. Because grace is not an easy thing to give, especially when somebody's wronged you. But we need more people to be the bigger person, and we need more grace in the world. So that's a priority for me.
What has been your favorite lesson that you've learned over the years?
Working this job, life is temporary. Too many people take in too soon. The value of your time, not just the time itself, but how you choose to spend your time, who you spend your time with. Just a life well lived. I mean, work is super important. I think all of our jobs are super important, right? We're called to serve, and we get to do this job. It's some privilege, but like, because when you die, like, uh, there's a good chance a lot of people in the department are gonna miss you. If your family asks, they're gonna show up to your funeral. They're gonna miss you. Yeah, the guys in the department for a few years, your true friends. But your family, that's forever, right? Your family and your friends that you choose to be ohana with. So aside from work, like me, I got into the medic and just got super busy, working a lot of overtime. I had to circle back to that as a driver, John. Like just come to work, do my job, not work much overtime. That was when my son was born. Like, bro, I wanted to soak that up, bro. Became a dad, bro. It was my best buddy. Like I spent that time and then boom, Captain at Central get real busy again, huh? But have my daughter over there, okay? Not same thing, bro. We got a staff, but at the same time, like I prioritize my family and they're young, but nobody's taking my baby time away from me. But that being said, now like people say like, oh yeah, the kids they'll get older or start doing their own thing. And like, my boy he told me the other day, he's like, Dad, I wanna go away one day. Like, like how I did, right? I was shocked. I was like, boy, to be honest, like I don't like you guys ever move away. I love you guys. You know, like even though you guys drive me crazy, I love you guys, bro. Like I like being one part of that. I like see everything, bro.
Yeah.
I like be there for them when they get hard times. So like, brother, the thing is like not just the time, but your presence, being engaged, and like, I'm not preaching, but I gotta remind myself every day, put the phone down. Even some of the house responsibilities, like find a way to either do it with them and make the best time out of that, or like sometimes the cool down I gotta wait, bro. Give your kids like 20 minutes of quality time when you come home, bro. Okay, now we good, right? Gotta give them that, and
That's
then the
true.
return, bro. The return back to you inside of your heart is pure. So don't let this job suck you in.
That's true. Yeah.
I was playing dolls with my daughter. I never would thought I'd ever do that. But yeah,
Tyson,
that time.
we
I
know
have
that
all
they're your
daughters, so
dolls.
yeah,
Your mom saved the dolls for the day you had daughters.
LOLs, bro.
Yeah,
Did your
LOL.
daughter? LOLs? Sorry. LOLs. That's
kids
her
don't
thing
need
right now.
fancy stuff, fancy gadgets. They need just your time.
Yeah.
Time in cardboard boxes, then they play with that money and the bubble wrap.
Right. For real. Christmas time. That's what it is.
So the quality of work changes when you love what you're doing. How has that been for you throughout your career thus far? And how often do you have to remind yourself of that as well?
Constantly, bro. It's a love-hate relationship with this job, whether we're talking about time in ops or time in this position. Bro, there's some hard times where you question, like, bro, is this all even worth it? Whether it's a bad call or a bad crew or a bad coworker that you're dealing with, or like now in the office, like just getting inundated. You guys know about
Yeah.
inundated phone calls, emails, meetings, appear at this, talk at this. Well, after that, you got to come throw on all your bunker gear and train the recruits because you got to teach the station. It's just endless, right? But um, that's the thing. I think you hit the nail on the head with the question itself. Like when your quality of work starts changing, it's time to wake up. You working too much. You got to recenter yourself at work, and you got to recenter your personal compass of how you're spending your time. What is your reset? Like for me, um, it's a lot of it is done in the mind space, but a lot of it is also physical, like working out or like doing jujitsu or like spending time in the ocean. And especially if those easy resets don't work, like a date with the wife, time with the kids, right? If that doesn't work and you're still miserable, you're still not yourself, maybe saying things you shouldn't say, like now you really gotta go back to your work, your priority list. Um, for me right now, okay, like what gotta go back, not off the table, but what needs to be moved back on the calendar, right? What is the actual priorities? And if you're in ops, and maybe it's like the classic example, right? Burnt out medic, like maybe it's time to promote out or go someplace slower and just heal up a little bit. But this job will, like I said, bro, it'll suck the life out of you
Yeah.
if you let it. So
Yeah.
maintain that sovereignty over your mind. You gotta channel your anger the right way. Um, but yeah, the passion helps keep you centered too.
Oh, yeah.
Being around like minded people for work stuff. For me, I'll plug the 50th State Fools right now. Especially in the early days when like it was just me and a couple other guys that were latching onto new stuff like nozzle forward. I don't know. That's a bad word to some people just saying that, but I went up to the Fools and there was like over 100 other firefighters from all over the state there to learn, there to be better. And it's like, oh, I'm not just a crazy guy preaching on the street corner. Maybe I gotta tone it down a little bit. Like make a network,
Yeah.
realize there's other people out there, talk about the struggles that you're going through, and it's been amazing for me. The friends I made through the Fools, bro. That was the first thing guys that I we went to Lahaina with. So guys willing to answer the call no matter what, like true brotherhood, true brotherhood, not casual brotherhood or family or whatever word you want to use for what the fire service is supposed to be. So be around like-minded people at work and outside of work, but you got to fill your cup.
Do you believe that most change occurs when you put yourself in situations that challenge yourself and make you feel super uncomfortable?
I absolutely do. But it's terrible. It's a terrible feeling.
Yeah.
The fear of being embarrassed, the fear of
Feeling.
screwing it up, the fear of what people are gonna think. But you know, comfort is the enemy of growth, right? We got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Um, so let's use working out as one example. Like when somebody walks in the room And I'm not talking about being, having no neck and just ripping out of your shirt. When you walk in the door and you see somebody fit, like, what does that say about them?
Respect, right?
It's dedication and consistency over time, following a program, watching your sleep, watching your diet. Don't get me wrong, this person could be a total D-bag, right? They could be a total an example of a person that you would not want to be like, but at least from an impression standpoint, when I walk in the room, I know that this person is capable of
Depth.
pursuing consistency over time. So like just that, I think it's a perfect example. Is it fun working out every day to look like that and like eating food that tastes like cardboard and not staying up late watching? No, but it sucks. I like eat all kind of desserts, but you know me, I'll eat one whole custard pie on it. So I like
I can
staying
see
up
that
late and
before.
talking with the boys at the station, right? I like watching movies, but like I don't even get to watch movies anymore. But anyway,
Yeah.
this is about comfort, right? So um we gotta challenge ourselves, man. I mean, look at society. Everybody has it so easy. We live in the most blessed time in all of humanity, as far as like I can go eat whatever I want.
Yeah.
I can jump on a plane,
You
go
can
do
order
whatever
food
I
from your
like do.
phone and it can come
Yeah,
to
To
your
your
bro.
house.
house.
Huh.
You can like order food to your
Order groceries
to
and
your
come to your
doorstep.
house.
That is
Yeah.
crazy, yeah.
It's crazy,
It's
right?
a
Like
different time.
like you think about what our ancestors went through, just forget what meal. Or
You
to
could
protect their
cultivate
village
anything.
when there's a bunch of boats rowing up on shore and giant Vikings coming up to raid your village. Like you all gotta know how to fight, how to catch your food, how to grow food, how to catch it. Your women all gotta take care of the kids together. We gotta build our houses, take them down, bro. Bro, we getting too soft, bro. I'm sorry. We're getting too
Yeah.
soft, and I'm not calling anybody
Yeah,
out, but
no.
like everybody
I
gotta do
understand.
something that like you gotta do something
Hard.
to keep yourself hard, especially in this job, and not callous or detached. You gotta challenge yourself to be better every single day. Like everything is just so convenient, bro. It's so convenient. So, bro, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Do the hard thing and reflect on how you grew from it and take other people with you on the journey. Embrace the suck
Nice.
together, bro.
That's good advice.
So many people don't see once you take the step on the other side, which is the support side, right? You have the operations support side, or wear the white shirt. Let's talk about you and some of your projects that you've been doing in your position, grants, training, studying gear, and the future that you envision where you're at.
Yeah. So the first part of your question, people not seeing or understanding, um, our door is always open, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like if you want to come see what we're doing for a part of a day, whether it's an office day, whether it's training the recruits, or whether it's during one of the trainings we're having, like come just see what's taking place. Like if you have the time, I'll set it up. I'll find justification to make sure that you're compensated in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement. And we can make it happen if you want to kind of peek behind the curtain and look behind the veil. But as far as project, there's so many things. So in doing budget work and looking at our existing programs and programs that we need to have, like I shared this with you, like show you a spreadsheet. I think it's close to about 40 training programs that we should have in place. I want to say we have less than 20 that are in various states of functionality or success, if you want to call it that. So I'm trying to prioritize a few different things and get funding for a bunch of things. But I wrote a AFG grant 2 years in a row for Combat Chaos, Mastering Fireground Command, Chief Castros. We're still waiting on AFG to possibly come in, but actually we went and testified before council to try to get it funded. And we realized that, hey, we can use a county training fund to get this off the ground. So anybody who's interested, we're going to be doing a train the trainer end of this fiscal. So it'll probably be May. So what that program does is it teaches incident command and not the conventional way. It's fully NIMS compliant. It aligns with NIMS and NFPA. But if we think of ICS right now, the wildland example, basically a big fire starts to evolve from an incipient wildland, right? We get exceeded on resource capacity. There's one BC running around with two radios controlling everything. We usually don't have time to breathe until we kind of get a knock on it. The weather pattern changes for that time of day, right? Take a breath. Okay, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the plan, get the recall going, and that kind of works for that. But that issue that I talked about with the wildland fire, with a structure fire, that initial phase of chaos, it's called Calm the Chaos. It's a standardized system, very similar to Blue Card. Chief Castro's created the program, and he actually was mentored by Chief Brunacini. So there's a lot of commonalities to it, but it's a system for managing that acute phase of the incident. You train the ICs and your tactical supervisors, which is your division and group supervisors, to understand pretty much a set command intent for what a strategic and tactical operation is going to be, and bridge the gap between what the IC wants and what the firefighters are doing, giving our officers in the middle space the ability to just jump right in and not freelance, but operating under a system with commander's intent in place, understanding objectives in priority orders to what we're going to do. That thing helps to control, this whole program helps to control that phase. Like, that is where we're going to lose somebody. That's where we're going to lose a whole block instead of a house or a town. That's what's going to make a big difference. So that's one big project. If you want to be a part of it, looking for officers and BCs for that. Other than that, engine company operations is something that we're looking at, everything from the attack side, all the hose coming off the truck, to the water supply side. There's a lot of good engine ops that we have, and there's a lot of engine ops that we have. I think that once we get outside of our bread and butter, that's where we run into the problems, because there's a different way of doing things. So I'm not saying the individuals or the companies are confused, but because there's no standardization of the outside the box calls, or like a playbook basically that everybody follows, people might say like, oh, we're gonna do this, and it might get executed, it might get understood but executed a different way that isn't gonna work from the person that's calling for it up there, if that makes sense.
Gotcha.
So it's looking at the gaps and trying to plug the gaps and get everybody on the same page. But there's so many things, man. Slowly turning the gears on our truck culture. A lot of people would think like, what do you mean truck culture? Like aerial, like the truck cannot fit, it cannot reach it. Pretty true, right? But my thing is, we're engine centric fire department, but is the truck work still getting done? Are ladders getting thrown? Is search the priority, or is putting the fire out the priority? Right?
Yeah.
So now if you roll up to a house, Tyson, right, 2-story window, your next due is 10 minutes out. Mama's hanging from the window with her baby. Are you pulling a line off the truck to go in the front door, or are you throwing a ladder to the second floor window? So we're gonna VS that window, grab mama and her baby, and like, brah, I'm happy with that. Okay, yeah, we're gonna try to put your house out, but priority one
Life
has been addressed, right? So all of that, the forcible entry stuff, we're still borrowing doors from State Crash and PTA. We don't even have a forcible entry prop. All of that stuff is truck culture that we don't have, and it's truck work that needs to be done if you're on an engine. So a lot of departments, they follow engine truck deployment model. So engine rolls up, yeah, we put the fire out, and then the next do, even if it is an engine, right? Ladders, overhaul, utility, ventilation, entry, egress, and rescue being priority one. That stuff got to get done. So I'm working on that. Wildland, we got some stuff coming up. Chief wanted a Sawyer program. He also wants to raise the level of baseline for everybody. So Wildland is huge.
Yeah, it's growing. Yeah.
It's huge, the threat, right? You guys are doing active work on that all the time. But as far as the wildland operations with the threat, like all of our operations will come into question. So we got to provide and equip our personnel with the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do their job well. And if things go wrong, stand up in court.
Yeah.
We are still working on some rescue stuff. We just set a date for a confined space. Swift water. We're still going to try and pursue that hopefully this fiscal year, and the other dive rescue things. We got hazmat stuff. Upcoming Haztech thing. Going to start planning that for this fiscal year. I got to work on the justification for that. There's also a few more travel opportunities for hazmat people. The CERT-C courses, transportation, emergencies, and things like that. Look, bro, there's
Much.
choke stuff, fire instructor tree for my personnel. It's nonstop, bro. It's nonstop. It's trying to spin all of these plates and just keep on grinding every day. It's a beast, bro. And that's all the stuff I want to do.
Right on.
That's all the stuff I want to do. That's not like all the administrative stuff that like I don't want to do, but I have to do.
Yeah.
The
Right.
coordination, appearances, speaking, like it's not that I don't want to do it. I have to do that too.
Yeah.
That's my job. So like when the feedback is, oh, why aren't we doing this? Why are we doing that? Like really, we don't have enough people, and even the people that I have that I'm grateful for, they have no professional development up to this point where we started with me. So we're all learning as we go.
There you go. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot. We
That's
could talk.
support.
That's a
I know.
whole-
It's support.
Right?
That's
My
a
kid
whole
was
other
like, they go all
episode.
day with that stuff.
And the prevention side is the same. So with all that going on, what's some of the hobbies or activities that you do on your free time to get yourself free from, the chaos that you're doing at work?
Well, before I was a
Joke,
dad,
jokes, yeah.
before I was a dad, I had a lot more time for hobbies. So, um, there's a lot of frustration, especially when I had two kids, about what I used to do for fun and what my life is now, and facing that reality, accepting it, like, because you chose to be on father. Your hobby now is being on father. You gotta be there for your wife. You gotta take care of your house. You gotta feed your children. You gotta raise them the right way. You better accept it as an activity you enjoy, or you're gonna reap the consequences, right? So that's my hobby right now.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu was my passion before, and now I'm lucky, if you know what I mean, I get to go roll around once or twice a week. Is a good week. Right now I'm 4 weeks. It's 4 weeks since I went jiu-jitsu, and when I go back, it's gonna be like, oh, bro, where you been? And like, oh, just work. You should make the time to be here. You should be here.
You've been.
But bro, my priorities, bro, is with my
Yeah.
family and work, right? So jiu-jitsu comes last. Classes are at a set time. If I miss it, I miss it. So the early morning workouts has been the one. Get it done. Work out. I get my buddy I've been working out with almost every morning. We wake up 4:30, get ready, meet up around 5 o'clock, and we hitting the weights and circuits at 5 in the morning. And good dad time. We had the same season in our life too. So event session.
All right.
Um, and then other than that, self-development. Self-development is an actual hobby. Listening to all these podcasts, self-reflection,
Investing in
um,
yourself.
interacting with other people that are on that train is huge for me. It lifts me up, bro. That's what's been lifting me up instead of doing the hobbies. Like even diving, like I got to a point where I was decent at diving, not like some of the brothers in our department, but like you're lucky if I can shoot one collie right now. You know what I mean? And then kind of forget, once again, shout out to the wife, that my hobby is whatever project that my visionary has in store
Yeah,
for me.
yeah,
So the
that's-
next one is aquaponics, bro. You
Ooh,
just get some of the foundation stuff and
nice.
should be flowing water and all of that stuff pretty soon.
But you want to talk about the cool stuff your wife does? What she's into?
Oh yeah.
She's into?
So
That's good. Yeah.
me and my wife share a lot of values. It's working with the community. So she does interactions with the Native Hawaiian community and coordination. So she'll go to a place like Miloli'i, teach our Hawaiian people what they need to know to get them up to a certain level to know from a scientific standpoint what resources they have. So it's having the scientific methods for our people to take an inventory of their resources and produce good data to then carry that forward with the state. So, I mean, basically, in a nutshell, she works on that phase, data collection, helping fill the gaps. And it's not to say that she doesn't learn a lot from the communities that she works with too, because what her return is, she gets to hear these amazing stories and see places like Miloli and Molokai, places like Kipahulu that keep their ancestral practices alive and they still subsist, right? So us coming from this world of convenience, like my kids get to go see how it used to be and like how it still can be in a modern world. But she'll partner with the community and help carry them through the data portion, interactions with the state, scoping, strategizing, and then eventually getting to a point with getting something like a CBSFA put in place. So like a community-based sustainable fishing area where we're not, I mean, some communities could choose to do a MLCD, which is Marine Life Conservation District, where you cannot take anything. But if we're talking about sustaining our communities and our practices, for these communities, that's their choice to make it more of an intense bag limit on this, This one, we're not touching it all. So, so on and so forth. Making rules that fit to the community and then active monitoring after that. So if you're looking at the seasons, right, the actual fishing regulations, one of the things they're observing is real simple. Plenty of fishermen in the department, they notice, but actually adjusting your practice based on it, opening a fish when you clean them, looking at the gonads, taking your notes, right, the eggs or the sperm, and seeing how full it is. Like, are the spawning cycles lining up with my practice, and are the spawning cycles actually lining up with these regulations that are put in place years ago? Like, does time or species care about rules that were put in place 20 years ago? Like, you might go lobster season, and you guys probably went, right? Lobster season open. Oh yeah, but we'll still get. And then it's on you, right? As a lover or two, like,
To let it go.
or maybe you're one of those guys that did that. I hope not. But I mean, that's kind of what she does. But like everything that you can imagine that's connected with that too, like grants, justifications, project management. I learned about a lot about what I have to do now from just watching her on Zooms or being at meetings, and how she facilitates stuff and how they interact with each other respectfully, even though there's differences of opinion between a community and the government and other community members outside the initiative. Diplomacy, grace, all of those things, bro. So she taught me a lot from that, and that's what she does.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So we go to the last question. It's a two-part question, yeah? So how important is physical activity to you and your profession? First question. And second question, what kind of training regimen do you consider would benefit firefighters as well as upcoming recruits and your current style of recruit training? A three-part question.
How important is physical activity to me as a person? First and foremost, it's everything. It's my daily decompress. And as you can tell, I'm so wound up so tight. I gotta decompress before I even start my day. So I work out in the morning. But you gotta take care of your vehicle, yeah. We're given this body, we gotta take care of it. And I think that the mind is connected to the body. Your mind cannot be 100% optimal if your body isn't. And I've seen exceptions to the rule. I know people that they're not in the best of health, and like we're talking about people that can be engaged, fully present, analytical, facilitate, and handle so many things, but like at the same time, like you can just tell, like physically they're suffering. But you wonder for this person, like, bro, how much untapped potential are they leaving on the table? That's what I wonder. So to me, I think I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody. It's just when you see somebody like that, especially with that gift, you want them around. You want them to reach your potential. You want them to live longer, because we need that kind of people. So it's important to me. I try to instill that in my family and my friends, and work wise, it's everything. Profession means we get paid to do something. When people call, I mean, they're expecting, what I mean, some thoroughbreds showing up over here, ready to smash and do work. And I'm not talking about your run of the mill calls. I'm talking about the outside the box calls, right? The serious stuff. Like we want to show up and smash. Training and your mindset plays into that, but physically you gotta be up to the task. So profession wise, it's everything. The training regimen for firefighters, like I have my own opinion. So I can say what I personally do, but it's what works for you.
Yeah.
So everybody going, I like for lift weights, I like for swim, I like for run, but you just got to be careful that you don't go so far down one physical activity that you're not making sure that you cover all your other bases for the job. So
Right.
if you're a big time endurance athlete that does stuff that I could never do, good on you. But do you need to be able to lift and carry a certain amount in 75 pounds a year? Yeah, you do. Maybe you can deadlift the world, but like you cannot even last one bottle. Like
Yeah.
it's finding a balance for you. And again, it's not calling anybody out. Like we all got to just find the balance to kind of fit what our demand is for the job. And you got to have the thing you're passionate about as a forefront. Just remember to address everything else. And as you get older, you can put mileage on your body. So being proactive with your prehab. You don't do prehab, you're going to do rehab. So I mean, I know one of the other chiefs, he works out pretty religiously from the time we got in young together to moving up. He spends time like with all of his stretching and his strengthening and isometric stuff, 30 up to 30, 40 minutes per day, so that he can still do what he needs to do and show up for the job. So um you gotta take care of yourself. Um Attack your weaknesses. As far as the recruits, we just established a relationship with Tiger from Respect the Corner. So a lot of functional training, high intensity interval training, working on things like the strength and conditioning, cardiovascular, mobility, all of those different things that are going to make us not just capable of doing the job, but durable to keep showing up for the day. So we're looking at kind of adjusting our program in that direction. There's also other medical professionals and people in the physical training world that we're connecting with. So it's always a work in progress, but the main thing is we can show up and do our job, and it's repeatable over time. And you cannot do that if you're not taking care of in here too. So it's got to be a whole package. But yeah. Any other questions or closing
Oh my
comments?
God, any? You want to open? You want to close it? Anything?
I can close it. I just wanna thank you guys both for your time. We spent time in our careers early together, and it's it means a lot to me when I see people do something with their career and commit to it and keep showing up and doing the work every day. To the both of you, I see that in both of you. You guys are part of the solution, and I deeply, deeply appreciate that. I know that there's many people like you in this department that believe, that want to see us move forward and just see us grow. So with that, I just want to close and thank everybody in my life that's been a part of this entire journey, in work and outside of work. Keep training, and be nice to each other. Be nice to each other, and
Yeah.
we can laugh a little bit. Like, sorry to everybody if I ever was mean to you, said something that I shouldn't have said or that hurt your feelings, but just give each other grace. Let's have forgiveness. Let's stop being negative. Let's lift each other up, agree to disagree at times, and just be a part of the solution, be the change you want to see in the world. And with that, Mahal.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to thank you, Chief, for being on this. This is the second episode, probably of many more to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, bro.
And that is it.